speaking of cooking and football and Humey. Oh, Indian Super League. There we go. There's a link there somewhere. Big weekend. It's finally come to a close. And Mohun Bagan. Bagan, is that how you pronounce it? Probably not.
Mohun Bagan.
Okay, Mohun Bagan are dominant once again.
Yeah.
Clean sweep of trophies, beating Bengaluru.
Yeah. Bengaluru, yeah.
It's no surprise. Are they the dominant force of the continent at the moment?
It's kind of like City winning the Prem. How many times they won it in the last 15 years? So it's one of those. They've got the biggest budget. They're the oldest club in the league. They've got the biggest fan base. So that's the team I played for. So that was pardon me, that was the old ATK, Atletico de Calcutta. So Mohammedan is them and East Bengal I think they're the second oldest rivalry in world football. So they've got a huge, it's the Calcutta Derby, and it's massive. And when the Super League started, it was the old giants, so Mohammedan and East Bengal didn't want to enter the Super League. So they needed a team in Calcutta. So Atletico Madrid started a sister club, and like they do all over the world. And they started with ATK, and that's where I went to play. And then gradually Madrid pulled out and Mohammedan joined them. And our owner, so Sanjeev Goenka, is one of the owners of Mohammedan now, and he put them together. Mohammedan fans didn't want to be called ATK anymore, so they wanted to be Mohammedan. So then it was ATK Mohammedan, then it was Mohammedan. Now they're super giants. They're just huge. They've got they're bringing in because you have to have an Asian quota as well in your foreign players. So they're bringing in guys who are like top players in the A League. Like, it's crazy. Jason Cummins is there. Jamie McLaren's there. Like, Jamie McLaren's been top 5-6 goal scorers in A League for the last 6 years, and they bring him in, and he plays. He sits on the bench. It's one of those things. They've got such a wage structure that they can use, and their income of money is far beyond every other team.
So there's no cap system in Indian Super League?
There is, but because they have the money coming in, they can pay a bit more, and they have a constant fan base. Like the stadium they use, Salt Lake Stadium, it's obviously got a different name, but it was always called Salt Lake Stadium when I was there. It's just huge, and you see the final was packed, and it's like 70,000, 80,000 people if they're counting. Otherwise, it's probably 80, 85,000. But Bengaluru's a top team as well. They've won it. They've got the prodigal son, Sunil Chetri, who just came out of international retirement because he was trying to pass on the crown to somebody else to play up front because he's the only one who scored goals for them the last 10 years, 12 years. But he's come out of international retirement because they couldn't score goals. And they're two huge clubs. As far as finances go, they're two huge clubs in the league, and rightfully in the finals. The Mumbai group could have been there, the Mumbai City, because they're part of the City group. They could have been there. They've been there a couple times, but they tailed off a bit this year. But Mohammedan they're a top team. They've good coaches. So they brought back the coach. So when I won the league with ATK, Jose Molina was the coach. So he used to be goalie for like Deportivo and that, Craig. So he played in La Liga for years. He came in and won it his first year and then left. But they brought him back in, and just when you've got the squad he's got majority of the best Indian players. He's got top foreign players, and it's just comfortable, and they're deep. They've got probably 20 starting players, whereas most other teams maybe have 12, 13. But they're just like the team.
What's the growth of the league like, Humey? Is it getting stronger as the years go by?
You're seeing a lot of. I think the infrastructure side of things is getting bigger and better. They're bringing a lot more young players through who are breaking into the national team and doing well.
Nice.
They're still a ways away from being able to compete with the top Asian sides. When you look at the Champions Leagues and that, the clubs still struggle, which is weird because they do have big breaks in their season, and because of monsoon season, you can't do anything. It's crazy. So it's going to be a long time if they ever do, it'll be a long time before they can compete with your Middle Eastern and your East Asian teams.
A couple of things from me, Humey. The Asian quota, that's like Wonger on this podcast. So one, that's a parallel that Footy Prime has with the Indian
like you too, Dubs, right? Like
yeah,
that's
it's true.
our
Yeah,
camaraderie.
I'm also token. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing
DEI hires.
What?
For DEI hires.
Oh, yeah, correct. Mahan Bagan, is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the kind of new version of ATK.
Yeah, well, they're the old version of the new version. Yeah, they joined together. So.
And do you think that they would be the juggernaut that they are now without the investment of Atletico? Do you think they would have been kind of this behemoth of a club and have the success without that injection of cash way back when? And kind of the pairing and the sisterhood thing with the clubs?
I think they would have. The infrastructure side might not have grown the way it did, because when they brought in Madrid, it was all Spanish coaches. It was a way of playing. They were bringing in coaches and players so we'd have lower level and like lower La Liga players coming in. So my captain there, Borja Fernandez, played with Galacticos. Like he played with your Zidanes and Beckham and all these guys. And it was phenomenal for us to, like, even me to learn. Like I was 31, 32 and I'm watching him train and I'm like, okay, the guy's all right. Like, there's a reason he was there. But they're bringing in players who were La Liga players, and the way we trained and the way the coach trained, and it made the domestic players train because there was a demand. So every day, even if you were only out there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, there was a demand on how well you played, and we'd hold each other accountable, and that was a good thing, and I think it helped a lot of the Indian players grow. Do I think they would have been huge? Their fan base says yes. Like they would play Bengal derbies against East Bengal, and I think if you Google it, there's records of like 120, 130,000 people at games, and it's like it is huge. Whether they would have got the investment, it's hard to say. If the Super League doesn't start, does it happen at any of the clubs? They have the fan bases. Like Kerala Blasters have a huge fan base. Mahamagan and East Bengal have huge fan bases. Bengaluru have a very big fan base for joint. Like they're only a young club. I think they're only 10 years old, 11 years old. They started in the I League. They only joined the ISL, I want to say 7 years ago. So they weren't there for the first 2 years that I played there.
Sorry, then the I League is like the championship to the Indian Super League?
Now it is, yes.
Okay.
It used to be so when I was in the Super League, that was tier 2.
Okay.
But it was a tournament status at the start, and I League was the national league. And there was fighting back and forth because they're like, oh, this one's all money, this one's heritage, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then we started playing against each other, and when the ISL teams were there with all their players in off season, it would be a beating. So it's like, well, we've got to get here at this point, and they ended up merging, and now it's a tiered system. So the winners from the I League get promoted to the ISL now. So it's still there, but it's waned off a little bit. The finances are a lot less than what the ISL have, and if you do win the I League, you have to then prove your assets, and you have to prove all your money and that you can step up and you can accommodate. So I think this is the first year actually that they're going to have the fully tiered system where the lower team steps up. So
cool.
It's
yeah. Humey, what was the travel like? And then also, what was your favorite city?
Oh, geez.
For your away games. We always got one city that you don't mind going to.
Yeah. Well, Mumbai was always good. So going to Mumbai, when I was playing in Calcutta, going to Kerala, and Kochi was really good. That comes from having friends there. Other way around, going to Calcutta was pretty good. There's a lot of good people around there. But the travel depends on who you're playing. You had in the first couple of years, you were literally playing every 3 days. So you'd play a game. If you were lucky, you'd get maybe 2 or 3 home games. You'd get on a plane. Like I went on an Air India plane one time. Geez, the handle on my seat was wrapped with duct tape, and you'd have one of the window wells had tape holding down the trim on it, and it's like I've still got photos on my phone. Like it's, but it is what it is. It was the best one was when you got on a bus. So when we played, like in the first couple of years, we played Pune, and it's 2.5-3 hours away from Mumbai. So we played back to backs. So we'd go one and then we'd drive to the other. And it's like, oh my God, you're going through mountains and you're up and down, and it was interesting to say the least. It wasn't up the M1 or up the M6 in the UK, which was mind numbing. Going down from Preston to Plymouth Argyle was a fun one for 7 hours on a bus, but you'd play cards, you'd have video, you'd have movies on, you do whatever. So we never had that. Now it's all by plane, and it's the travel to the airports, because your main cities are never right by the airport. It's still an hour and a half drive to it, and you're sitting. They're long. It's a big country, and thankfully all in the same time zones, which helps. It's not like this nation that we're a part of. If you have to travel from east to west coast and play 2 games, and it's it was interesting at the start. I think they've probably smoothed off the edges a little bit since I was there, but it's fun.
At least you weren't made to like stand on the roof of a train or outside a train. Because whenever I see movies from India, there's always trains, and there's always people like just hanging off trains. That's just how they travel, apparently, according to all the movies I see. In fairness, and not to that extent, but we've had it before. Like, so after I left Calcutta, Jamshedpur came into the league. So that's like Tata Steel. So that's all. So all Tata, that was their club, and they put it together and all that. But it's only like a 4-hour train journey from Calcutta. And I've got buddies who are still at the club, and they're like, yeah, we played, and then we're traveling down. I'm like, how are you traveling down? Oh, we're getting the train. This is going to be interesting. And some of the things they were saying is like people coming in, so they'd get the rooms and all that for the guys on the trains, and they're like, oh, people coming off the side, and they'd come and sit down next to us in our room, like we paid for it. You can't really say anything but they're like, there's a room for 4. We'd have 2 players in there, and you'd have just a random person came in, and they'd sit down next to you, and it's like, well, thankfully I never had to do it, because I'd be like, buddy, you need to get the fuck out of here. But the infrastructure's changed a lot, and I think they've realized with the foreign players and everything, that the foreign players are buying into it, but they need to try and have some sort of meeting halfway and give them something that's a little bit more structured than that. But it's improving year and year from what I'm told. I obviously don't know as many people out there anymore as far as players, but I know quite a few people still in the back rooms, and they don't say anything bad about it right now. So it's definitely on the up and up.
Humey, I just wanted to ask about, I'm seeing with the Club World Cup, I know what you think of it, but your old club won the title this year, right? Mm-hmm. They have a Japanese and a Korean team. How far is India off from their clubs being able to compete at that level on the Asian side?
It's tough, because they've got so much more money. And that's not just for player side of things. It's for the training facilities, for the stadiums, just everything about the infrastructures. They're like India's still trying. They're still improving. The clubs are trying to build training facilities and improve the day-to-day rather than the long term. And they're still a way away. They're not able to invest 150 million on a training facility and stadium upgrades and all that. They're not. It's tough, but it depends on who you're allowing into this Club World Cup. Like, is it only if you go to your Champions League and whatever and compete? Like, if you win the league, do you get an opportunity? Like, other than going
kind of like UEFA, yeah,
right? Like going against a major team, like it's tough for them. So Will they compete anytime soon? It's the same as the national team. It's tough to say because on any given day you can go out and compete. Like I know India's gone out and tied against Qatar and tied against China in the national teams, but when it comes to the clubs, it's a shit kicking. Whether the scoreline says it's a shit kicking, it's a shit kicking. It's 85% possession and 25 shots on target, and it's games like that. And whether they're able to compete at that highest level, they need to make it there first to try and compete, and it's a tough one.
You mentioned Jason Cummings. That's the guy from the World Cup, right? Australia.
Yeah, the Scottish Australian.
The Scottish Australian. Yeah, he played for Scotland, but also Australia.
Played for Hibs as well, so I'm not a massive fan.
Forrest too, Jimmy, actually. Played Forrest for a couple, I'm seeing here. And Wonger, you'll find this interesting. His nickname is Cum Dog.
Oh, no.
Why is it only I would find that interesting? Why is it just me? Wonger.
Because it's in the deplorable category.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wild card category.
It's not the greatest nickname, is it?
No.
He's got a good finish.
Yeah.
All over the box, that one.
That's right.
Anyway.
Messy at times.
We miss a target.
Untidy.